What's up, Internet? Welcome back to the Cigar City Book Club. I'm your host, Dad Diaz, author of the Cigar City Case Files, a hard-boiled detective series set in the city of Tampa that follows the exploits of an active duty firefighter who's a bail bondsman and private investigator on his days off. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite, or my very favorite, Philip Marlowe story novel, and that is Lady in the Lake. I like it for a number of reasons we'll talk about in a minute, but basically it tells a story of when a wealthy businessman hires Philip Marlowe to find his missing wife, and it quickly becomes something much more complicated when one lady is found in the lake, and another lady is in the wind, and several people seem determined to prevent Marlowe from finding out the truth. Um, I think in this particular case, one of the things you always have to start with in any good story is characters, and the characters in this story are fantastic. Um, you get this rural sheriff, and I think that's really what I like. We'll talk about it later. It's a contrast between the rural and the city. We'll get there, but it's a rural sheriff who's like a lot of times he's a little slower. He's a little he seems a little more out of step, but he's got a little more going on than appears on the surface. And I think he's great. It's a trope, but he's again early on in the trope. There's a troubled widower who's a war veteran, and he's carrying around a lot more than his share of grief. There is a deadly femme fatale who's trying to stay one step ahead of the dogs. And there's this Bay City cop who is he's caught up in some mistakes from his past, and he's trying to work his way out of that. So all of these characters are really interesting. They all feel like they had lives before they met Marlowe, and they're not just chess pieces being moved around on the board to give Marlowe clues and all that stuff. They feel their histories feel very real. Their weaknesses and their bad decisions help to change the maze as Marlowe's walking through it. So it's a very uh, the book feels very alive, thanks largely because of the characters. And we'll get to the setting in a minute. But the more Marlowe digs, the more the more the mystery changes shape, right? Which is the hallmark of a good mystery. And every answer leads to another question, and everyone's hiding something. It's all kinds of, I wouldn't call them B plots, but there's all kinds of stuff happening in the background that makes sense once you figure it all out. But these twists and turns and false leads and blind alleys, they keep Marlowe and the reader off balance in a way that just it really works. As soon as you think you got a handle on where this is going, maybe I don't. The biggest, but again, I've said it a bunch of times. My favorite aspect of this, outside of the twist, which is really good, is the shifting setting. I love the way that Chandler contrasts the city and the mountains, and that's it's great to see Marlowe moving back and forth between his native city and going out into the country. And I think a lesser writer would have probably focused mainly on the scenery and the change in atmosphere, and there's definitely all of that stuff in it. But Chandler also focuses on the people and the culture and the things that are different in the country. Country folk, again, kind of like the sheriff, this is kind of way to think that because they live a little more simply, they're simpletons. That would be a very dangerous thing to think. They are, they have their secrets, and there's a way to get them to talk, and you're gonna mess things up if you do that wrong. if you go about that the wrong way. On the city, on the other hand, he spends plenty of time in the city, especially Bay City, which I think is supposed to be San Diego. I don't know why you ever changed that name. I think that's what Bay City is supposed to be. But anyway, he goes to Bay City, and he he runs afoul of the cops there. He gets into a lot of trouble, and they can be reasoned with. Um, Sometimes it's a little, what I'm saying, little grease to get the action going. But that's very city. Like Marlowe's very good at that. And he walks in both worlds very, very well in this book, and I really like that. It gives him a little bit, because usually one of my complaints or one of my criticisms is that Marlowe is kind of a static character. He is. So it's nice to see him at least stretch his legs and get out of his environment and operate in a little bit of a different place. So it's good to see him deal differently with the country folk than he normally does the city folk, and to see that he steps into that role very, very well. It's not true character development, but I do like it. It does at least uh, gives me a skill set I haven't seen in him before. But The Lady in the Lake has everything I want from a classic hard-boiled mystery. It has great characters, sharp dialogues, complex mystery. The solution will change the way you see the book once you see it. But I think it's the movement between contrasting settings that gives this one its identity. Um, Chandler understood that setting isn't just place, it's the people who live there, the secrets that they're willing to protect. And he handles that very, very well in this book. And so, if you like Philip Marlowe or classic detective stories with plenty of twists and blind alleys, The Lady in the Lake is absolutely worth the read. Um, I loved it, and I highly recommend it. So, what is your favorite Raymond Chandler book? Have you read any? Do you like them? If not, who do you like? Leave it in the comments. We'll talk about it. Talk to you later. Bye.